What if the very thing you believe will save you is actually what's been breaking you all along? Have you ever tried so hard to control life only to feel more anxious, more exhausted, and more lost? And here's the twist. What if peace doesn't come from gripping tighter, but from learning how to let go? You think that control will bring peace, that if you just hold on tightly enough, everything will be okay. But what if that belief is the true root of your suffering? You only lose what you cling to, the Buddha said. Simple words, yet they cut deep. And still, we cling even harder when life becomes uncertain. We scramble to fix things. We overthink. We plan for every worst-case scenario. We exhaust ourselves trying to prepare for storms that may never come, or that were never ours to control. But here's the truth. Life isn't designed to be controlled. It doesn't follow our scripts. It doesn't care how ready we are. So let me gently ask you, how much of your fear, tension, and mental exhaustion is really just your desperate attempt to manage what was never in your hands? This video isn't just about the concept of letting go. It's about how to live it. You'll learn the mental shift that transformed ancient warriors, Zen monks, and Stoic philosophers into some of the most resilient minds in history. Not because they found more control, but because they stopped trying to force it. Let's be honest, life is messy. It's unpredictable. It can be cruel and chaotic. And yet, there's a single truth that once embraced changes everything. Let go or be dragged. Yes, that's it. That's the rule. One truth, one practice, one turning point. And if there's only one thing you take away from this entire video, let it be this. It will carry you farther than 1,000 hours of stress and struggle. And if you stay until the end, I'll share a powerful insight, a bonus that might just unlock something inside you. Something quietly waiting for freedom. Let's begin with the first core idea. Let go or be dragged. Think about it. How much of your suffering comes from holding on to what you cannot change? There's a painful yet liberating truth in this. The more we try to control the uncontrollable, the more we suffer. It's like gripping a burning coal in your hand. The tighter you hold it, the more it scorches you. And yet, we tell ourselves that holding on will give us strength or clarity. But what it really brings is pain. Buddhist philosophy doesn't tell you to stop feeling. It invites you to stop attaching. There's a world of difference between the two. Feelings arise and pass. But attachment, that's what keeps us trapped. You only lose what you cling to. That single sentence has outlived centuries of noise because it speaks directly to the heart of our modern struggles. We chase, we hold, we resist. And in doing so, we become the very prisoners of our own grasp. Letting go feels like defeat, like giving up control. But here's the paradox. The more we fight against reality, the more we suffer under its weight. The moment we accept it, truly accept it, something shifts. We begin to breathe again. Have you ever obsessed over a past mistake or rehearsed a future worry again and again, hoping you could change it just by thinking harder? Maybe it's the guilt of words left unsaid, the fear of what tomorrow might bring, or the frustration that life hasn't turned out the way you thought it should. But what if it's not the event itself that's keeping you stuck? What if it's your resistance to it? As a Zen proverb reminds us, let go or be dragged. The dragging isn't caused by life. It's caused by our refusal to move with it. Modern society sells us a fantasy, that we can control every part of our future if we just try hard enough. But what's still inside you that clings to certainty? What part of you is still terrified of standing still in the unknown? We'll explore this fear more deeply and learn why uncertainty might not be your enemy, but your greatest teacher. We ended the last section with a question. What part of you still resists the unknown? Let's pick up from there, because in that very resistance, we often miss where true peace is hiding. Peace doesn't dwell in the known. It doesn't bloom from certainty. It lives quietly in the space where you stop forcing clarity and allow life to unfold as it is, not as you wish it to be. So ask yourself, gently, honestly, what am I still holding on to that no longer serves me? Maybe it's an old belief you've outgrown, a role you've been playing for too long, or an expectation so heavy it bends your spirit a little more each day. The truth is both simple and painful. The tighter you hold on, the more it hurts. The more you let go, the lighter life feels. Here's a powerful shift you can make today. The next time you feel overwhelmed by a problem, a situation, an emotion, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What am I clinging to right now?" That one question can flip the script entirely. It doesn't make the challenge disappear, but it makes you stronger than the challenge. Pause right now. Take a quiet breath. Is there something in your heart that's whispering, "Let me go"? Maybe a lingering regret, a truth you've refused to see, a tension in your body that you keep pushing aside. Perhaps it's time, not because everything will magically become easier, but because you will no longer be at war with what is. Embracing uncertainty is not the same as giving up. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's choosing to walk through the storm rather than spending your life hiding from the rain. It's trusting that peace isn't found in perfect answers, but in your capacity to stand calmly within the storm of questions. And when you finally let go, not just in words, but in action, life doesn't become less chaotic, but your suffering softens because you've stopped clinging to the flames. Peace begins the very moment you stop fighting reality. Now let's move to the next essential principle. Number 2, observe without absorbing. Think of this. Storms never ask your permission. They arrive without warning, wild, loud, often unwanted, but the sky never resists. It doesn't fight the storm, it simply holds it and lets it pass. This is the mind in its most powerful form, not trying to be the storm, but becoming the sky. That's the secret. Observe without absorbing. In a world that constantly pulls at your attention, shouting for your reaction, demanding your energy, this is your quiet revolution. It's not easy, but it is possible. It's the difference between being pulled under or rising above. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not your anxiety. These are passing weather systems in your consciousness. You are the space they move through, not the storm itself. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. That's more than a beautiful quote. It's a survival strategy for the modern soul. Because if you keep reaching for peace in an unstable world, all you'll find is noise. But when you stop identifying with the noise in your mind, everything changes. Picture this. You're in a noisy, crowded room. Thoughts are shouting, emotions are rising like waves. But in that chaos, you pause. You take a breath, and you remind yourself, this is just a thought. I am not this thought. Suddenly, space opens up. Not because the noise vanished, but because you stopped absorbing it. You became the sky. And here's the quiet miracle. Every day you get that moment of choice. During an argument, a wave of insecurity, a scroll through overwhelming news, you have a split second. React to the storm, or simply watch it pass. That tiny decision, it defines your peace. Because most people absorb everything. But you can choose differently. Coming up next, we'll explore how to strengthen this practice even further and how silence can become your most powerful form of clarity. Previously, we talked about observing without absorbing, becoming the sky, not the storm. Now let's take that one step further. How do we live in a chaotic world without being consumed by it? Most people live like emotional sponges. They soak up everything: frustration, fear, comparison, criticism, and then wonder why their hearts feel so heavy. Every passing emotion becomes a burden. Every opinion feels personal. Every disagreement feels like a wound. But here's the truth. You don't have to live that way. You can choose to be something else entirely. You can be the witness, the calm observer behind the noise, the steady awareness beneath the waves. The next time you feel your chest tighten, your mind racing, or your mood crashing, pause and ask, can I let this moment move through me without becoming it? That question alone has the power to dissolve even the sharpest anxiety, because emotions in themselves are not your enemy. They're not here to destroy you. They're messengers, bringing you information, not identity. And thoughts. They aren't facts. They're simply patterns, old echoes running through your mind. When you see them clearly, without fusing with them, something shifts. You unlock a rare power that most people spend their whole lives searching for: emotional freedom. In Buddhist practice, this is mindfulness in its truest form. Not just meditating with your eyes closed, but walking through life like a still mountain, grounded, aware, unshaken. Now imagine this. What would your day look like if you didn't absorb every irritation? If you didn't get pulled into every negative comment, every fleeting doubt, or every mood swing from others? Imagine being so rooted in yourself that nothing could disturb your peace unless you allowed it. This isn't about becoming cold, distant, or uncaring. It's about becoming wise. It's about knowing the sacred boundary between what is yours to carry and what is not. It's about learning to guard your peace without hardening your heart. And once you master this, once you learn to observe without absorbing, you won't just weather the storms of life, you'll rise above them. Strong minds don't resist storms. They become the sky that contains them, vast, peaceful, and free. Now let's move to the third insight. 3. Care deeply, but not widely. There's a quiet form of suffering that often goes unnoticed. It's the suffering of the over-caring soul. You want to do good. You want to help, stay informed, show up for everyone. Be kind, be available. But somewhere along the way, you become exhausted. You feel stretched thin, drained by too many causes, too many conversations, too many people asking for pieces of you. Like a candle trying to light every room, your flame begins to flicker. That's when the wisdom of Buddhism offers a gentle reminder. Care deeply, but not widely. To care is deeply human, but to care wisely, that is true strength. Not every issue deserves your energy. Not every opinion needs your response. Not every conflict is yours to resolve. The mind begins to crumble when it tries to fix everything it sees, even the things that aren't its responsibility. So ask yourself, and be honest, Am I giving my energy to what grows me or to what drains me? The people pleaser inside you may resist that question. It might whisper, "You're being selfish." But let's be clear. You were not born to serve the noise. You were born to walk your own sacred path, and you cannot walk it fully if your hands are full of burdens that don't belong to you. There's an old story about a monk. Someone once asked him how he remained so calm, even when everything around him was chaotic. He simply smiled and said, "Because I know what's mine to carry and what isn't." That kind of clarity is not just wisdom, it's freedom. In a world that glorifies being everything to everyone, boundaries become sacred. Saying no isn't rejection. It's a quiet and powerful yes to your own soul. This is the art of narrowing your care, not to become indifferent, but to become intentional. We just explored the wisdom of caring deeply, but not widely. Now, let's turn inward, toward where your heart truly belongs. Focus your heart where it matters most. Let your attention become sacred, not scattered across endless demands, not diluted by a flood of distractions, but gently anchored in what brings you joy, what reflects your truth, and what nurtures your peace. Don't waste your love on a battlefield of empty opinions. Don't pour your precious energy into arguments that go nowhere or expectations that were never yours to begin with. Instead, direct your care into moments that matter, into the people who see your soul, into actions that align with your deeper values. In Buddhist philosophy, compassion isn't blind. It's not about constantly saying yes or burning yourself out in the name of kindness. It's discerning. It knows the difference between true giving and self-sacrifice, and it asks the quiet but powerful question, is this worth my inner peace? If the answer is no, then walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. We've been taught to scatter ourselves thin, to respond instantly to every ping, every update, every comment, to stay informed even when the information is toxic, to stretch our energy across 10 things when our soul is only asking us to tend to 3. But a strong mind knows better. It doesn't rush to every fire. It doesn't sacrifice its peace to prove its worth. A strong mind protects its flame. It chooses the sacred over the scattered. And that choice, quiet, often unseen, transforms everything. So start today. Take an honest inventory. Where is your energy going? What's occupying your thoughts, your emotions, your peace without permission? Who or what is living rent-free in your mind? This isn't about shutting people out. It's about reclaiming your space. Cut ties with what's unnecessary. Simplify your care so what remains becomes radiant. Remember, you don't have to carry the weight of the entire world to be a good person. You just need to carry your purpose with clarity, intention, and love. And when you do that, when you care deeply for what truly matters, your light doesn't fade. It shines brighter. Protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Now, let's move into the fourth principle, the freedom of non-attachment. Somewhere in your life right now, there's something that feels heavy. Maybe it's a dream you're clinging to too tightly. Maybe it's a version of yourself that no longer fits, but you're afraid to let it go. Or maybe it's a relationship that's shifted, yet you're still holding on, hoping it returns to what it once was. Here's the truth. The weight you feel doesn't come from life. It comes from your attachment to how you believe life should be. Attachment is the root of all suffering. That timeless teaching echoes through Buddhist philosophy like a quiet bell ringing in the middle of a storm. But what does it really mean to let go of attachment? Does it mean you stop loving, stop caring, give up on everything? Number. In fact, it's the opposite. Non-attachment is the deepest form of love. It's the love that doesn't cling, that doesn't try to control, that doesn't fear change. Imagine a single leaf floating gently down a river. It doesn't fight the current. It doesn't try to swim upstream. It simply moves with grace, with trust. And somehow, it always finds its way. That's non-attachment. Not giving up, but giving in to the flow of life without letting it define you. Most of us carry silent expectations. We hold tight to how we think things should unfold. And when life dares to move in another direction, we suffer. Not because life is cruel, but because our grip is so rigid. So ask yourself, with honesty and compassion, what am I attached to that's creating tension within me? Is it an identity? The one who always succeeds, always helps, always stays strong? Is it an outcome you've pinned your worth to? Here's the liberating truth. You can pursue goals with passion, without being attached. You can love deeply, without being afraid of losing. You can live fully, without clenching life so tightly that it shatters in your hands. Earlier, we explored the freedom of non-attachment, how loosening your grip allows life to flow. Now, let's lean into one of the most misunderstood strengths of all, letting go. Letting go isn't weakness. It's wisdom wrapped in stillness. It quietly whispers, I trust what is. I no longer need to force what isn't. And in that soft release, something unexpected happens. Peace rushes in, a gentle, almost unfamiliar lightness, like setting down a heavy backpack you didn't even know you were carrying. You breathe easier, you feel clearer, and in that space, a powerful question arises. If I let go, what might I find in its place? The answer is rarely what we expect. We don't find emptiness. We find clarity. We find calm. We find ourselves not as the roles we've been playing, not as the labels we've worn, but as the quiet awareness beneath it all. Because non-attachment doesn't mean not caring. It means caring correctly, with clarity, with freedom. It means showing up with love, but without clinging. It means flowing with life instead of fighting against it. You don't drown by falling into water. You drown by refusing to let go. And life, in its gentle persistence, gives you small chances to practice this every day. When your plans fall apart, can you breathe without spiraling? When someone criticizes you, can you listen without defending your ego? When the future feels uncertain, can you meet it with curiosity instead of fear? That is non-attachment. That is strength. Letting go isn't about losing. It's about remembering. You were never meant to hold on so tightly in the first place. Now, let's move into the fifth principle. 5. Respond. Don't react. There's a space, a small sacred space between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. It may last just a heartbeat, but inside that moment lives your greatest power, your peace, your presence, your freedom. But here's the catch. Most people miss it. They react instantly, like a spark to dry wood. Words fly, emotions explode, regret follows, and later comes the familiar question. Why did I say that? Why did I let it get to me? Buddhist wisdom gives us a life-changing shift. Respond. Don't react. Think of a still pond. It reflects the sky with perfect clarity, but if the water is disturbed, even by a small ripple, it reflects nothing but chaos. Your mind is the same. When it's still, it sees clearly. When it's agitated, it distorts everything. You've felt this. Someone says something cruel. Your plans collapse. A sudden challenge knocks you off balance. Your chest tightens. Your mind races. Before you even know it, you've reacted. But what if you paused? What if you allowed yourself one conscious breath, long enough to feel the emotion, without becoming it? That pause, that tiny space, is power. It's the difference between living on autopilot and living with awareness. It's what separates reaction from response. As the Buddha once said, "Do not let the behavior of others destroy your inner peace." But to live that truth, you must first anchor yourself in a space no storm can shake, that stillness within you. It's always there. You just need to return to it. So ask yourself, honestly, am I reacting out of emotion or responding from clarity? One leads to regret, the other to wisdom. Reactions are quick, heated, and chaotic. Responses are calm, thoughtful, and grounded. Reaction comes from fear and ego. Response comes from presence. And presence, true presence, only arises when you're awake in the moment, when you've created just enough space between the trigger and your choice. Picture this: a monk sitting calmly in the middle of a noisy marketplace. Children are shouting, merchants are arguing, dogs are barking. Yet the monk remains still, not because he's ignoring the chaos, but because he's rooted in himself. That peaceful monk in the marketplace, he isn't calm because life around him is quiet. He's calm because his inner world is. That's the essence of responding, not reacting. It means being so centered, so anchored within yourself that no chaos outside can pull you off balance. And make no mistake, life will test you. People will push your buttons, sometimes on purpose. Obstacles will arrive uninvited. Plans will unravel. Expectations will collapse. But in every moment, you still have a choice, a sacred one. Can I hold stillness in the middle of the noise? That's the real question. So the next time you feel anger rising, your chest tightening, your patience thinning, just pause. Take one deep, deliberate breath. Give yourself one silent second before you act. That tiny gap, it's the difference between adding more fuel to the fire or being the one who quietly, powerfully puts it out. Mindfulness isn't some soft, passive state. It's a form of strength, a discipline. It's the daily training of your mind to not bite the hook of every emotion that swims by, to not get caught in every story your thoughts try to tell you. And in that discipline, you begin to master yourself. You stop being a victim of everything that happens. You stop being a puppet to your moods, your reactions, your past conditioning. Instead, you become the author, writing your response with calm, clarity, and compassion. That's the mark of a strong mind, not the ability to control the world, but the ability to govern your own inner world. True power isn't how loudly you speak, it's how silently and skillfully you respond. Now we move into the sixth principle. 6. You are not your thoughts. Some days, your mind feels like a storm, doesn't it? Thoughts spinning fast, doubts shouting over your intuition, regrets echoing louder than your breath. And in that noise, it's easy to mistake thoughts for truth. We think, if I'm scared, there must be danger. If I'm worried, something bad will happen. If I feel unworthy, it must mean I am unworthy. But Buddhism teaches a liberating truth. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. And yet, you are not your thoughts. You are the sky, wide, still, and untouched, even as storm clouds come and go. Most people never pause to question that voice in their head, the one that says, "You're not enough." The one that replays old failures like broken records. The one that labels, blames, worries, compares. But that voice is not you. It's just mental noise, a loop, a habit, a conditioned pattern shaped by your past. Just like clouds, thoughts drift in and out, but they don't define the sky. They don't define you. Your true self is the awareness behind the thoughts, the observer that sees without clinging, not the fear, not the storyline, not even the belief. Ask yourself, who am I? Beneath the noise. Close your eyes for a moment. Don't listen to the voice. Listen to the space beneath it. That silence, that still presence. That's where peace lives. That's where you live. Most of us confuse what we feel with who we are. We say, "I am sad," as if sadness defines us. Or, "I am anxious," as if anxiety is our identity. But sadness is just a cloud. Anxiety is just passing weather. You are still the sky. There's a powerful Buddhist technique called mental noting. When a thought arises, you don't react. You simply name it. Worry, judgment, planning, fear. That act of naming creates space. It says, "I see you, thought, but I am not you." And that space, that's where transformation begins. That space is your power. Every time you recognize a thought and don't get pulled into it, you break a link in the chain of unconscious suffering. So ask again, is this thought helpful or just a habit of fear? Because the truth is, not every thought deserves your belief. Previously, we uncovered the truth that you are not your thoughts. You are the sky, not the storm. Let's now explore how to gently step back from the noise and build strength through simplicity. Not every voice inside your head deserves your energy. Not every thought needs your attention. Your job is not to wrestle with your mind, not to fight or fix every passing thought. Instead, your power lies in seeing through the thoughts, in watching them arise, float, and fade, like leaves drifting gently along a stream. They're not enemies. They're not facts. They're just passing movements of the mind. You observe. You don't grab. You let them pass, without judgment, without attachment. And in that letting go, something beautiful returns. Clarity. This is how strong minds are built, not by chasing only positive thoughts, but by realizing you are not the thoughts at all. You are the one who notices. You are not the storm. You are the one watching it roll across the sky. That shift, quiet, subtle, but profound, is the doorway to inner freedom. So the next time your mind floods with anxiety or self-doubt, just pause. Breathe. Gently remind yourself, this is just a thought. Like a cloud, it will pass. Because it always does. And beneath it, the sky remains, still, vast, unmoved. And that sky is you. Peace begins the moment you remember. You are the sky, not the storm. Now, let's move to the seventh principle. 7. Simplicity is a superpower. In modern life, we've been trained to chase. More goals, more tasks, more achievements. We fill every corner of our day, our homes, our minds, convinced that if we just add one more thing, then we'll finally feel whole. But what if it's not in the more? What if the peace you're searching for is waiting in the less? What if clarity isn't behind another success, but beneath all the noise you've been carrying? Buddhist philosophy offers us a quiet, liberating truth. Live simply so that others may simply live. And this simplicity isn't just about owning fewer things. It's about experiencing more freedom on the inside. Simplicity is not a weakness. It's a superpower. Think of the lotus flower. It doesn't bloom in chaos. It rises from calm, still waters, not by force, but by harmony. In the same way, your heart, your mind, your soul, they don't flourish in clutter. They grow in space. Emotional clutter, mental clutter, digital clutter, expectation clutter. We hold on to so much and then wonder why we feel heavy. So pause and ask yourself, what am I holding on to that complicates my life? Maybe it's an identity you've outgrown. Maybe it's the constant pressure to prove yourself. Maybe it's the habit of busyness, so loud, so constant, that silence feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. The world celebrates complexity, more ambition, more speed, more status. But Buddhist wisdom guides us in the opposite direction, not louder, but quieter, not more, but meaningful. It invites us to a rhythm that whispers, you don't need more to be more. Clarity doesn't come from piling on. It comes from letting go. Just like water only reflects clearly when it is still. Your mind reveals what matters when you create space. And that's the essence of simplicity. It's not about poverty. It's about focus. Not the absence of ambition, but the presence of intention. It gently asks, does this serve my peace? And if the answer is no, you let it go, without guilt, without struggle. You stop chasing every opinion. You stop reacting to every notification. You stop comparing every moment to someone else's highlight reel. You create space, space to breathe, to listen, to simply be, because that's where life truly lives, not in the rush, but in the quiet after the rush. And in that stillness, suddenly, beauty appears. In a single deep breath, in a walk without distractions, in a conversation that isn't rushed or halfway lived. After embracing simplicity, you begin to notice something subtle yet powerful. Life no longer feels like something to conquer, but something to experience. And that's where the next transformation begins. You begin to live life, not just consume it. You stop performing for the world, stop chasing validation, and start returning to something more real. Peace no longer feels like a finish line you must reach. It feels like home, a place you return to when you release what doesn't belong. Ask yourself, can I find beauty in less, not more? Can I find meaning in stillness, not motion? The answer is yes, if you're willing to let go of what's been quietly weighing you down. Look around, look within, examine your space, your mind, your calendar, your expectations. What can be simplified? What can be released? Because the simpler your life becomes, the stronger your mind becomes. Less distraction, more presence, less fear, more clarity, less noise, more depth. This is the true path of the strong-minded. Not to dominate the world, but to declutter it from within, to walk lightly, to think clearly, to love deeply without needing everything around you to be perfect. A calm life is not achieved by adding more. It's revealed by removing what was never truly needed in the first place. And now, the 8th principle: protect your energy like a sacred temple. There's a gentle truth often hidden beneath the noise of our fast-paced, always connected lives. Your energy is sacred. You are not a bottomless well. You are not designed to give endlessly, respond instantly, or carry everyone else's burdens without pause. Your mental focus, your emotional stability, your inner light, they are finite. They need care, protection, and renewal. Yet how often do we find ourselves pouring that energy out, scattering it across too many obligations, people, and problems, until there's barely anything left for the one person who truly needs it? You. Buddhist wisdom reminds us, boundaries are not isolation. They are acts of reverence. They are the gates that protect what is most sacred, your inner peace. You are the gatekeeper of your own monastery, the protector of your spiritual well-being, the keeper of the flame. Picture your energy like a candle. Its flame burns steadily when shielded from the wind, when it's nourished by warmth, not drained by storms. But expose it too often, to noise, to drama, to constant demands, and it flickers, weakens, and eventually goes out. Just as a candle cannot burn without fire, you cannot thrive without tending to your spiritual life, your peace, your clarity, your emotional balance. And if you're constantly giving without replenishing, if you surround yourself with people or places that drain rather than nourish, that flame will struggle to survive. So pause and reflect. Am I spending my energy on what feeds me or what depletes me? So often, we don't even notice what's draining us. We give our time to situations that go nowhere. We give our emotions to people who don't truly care. We give our thoughts to worries that aren't even real. And in the process, we drift further away from what truly matters, from silence, from self-care, from rest, from creativity, from meaningful connection. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it's spiritual hygiene. It's not about closing off, it's about choosing wisely. It means asking, does this use of my energy lead me toward peace or away from it? If it leaves you empty, the answer is already clear. It means recognizing when a relationship, a habit, or even a goal is no longer aligned, not with who you were, but with who you're becoming. And above all, it means honoring yourself enough to step away when necessary, not out of anger, but out of wisdom, out of self-respect. Because in a world that's always demanding more, it's easy to forget this simple truth. You are not required to give everything you have. Previously, we explored the importance of boundaries, not as walls to shut the world out, but as sacred spaces to protect your peace. Now, we move into one of the most misunderstood forms of inner strength: surrender. Boundaries are how we preserve our energy. They are how we protect the quiet sanctuary within, that sacred space where peace, clarity, and intention are born. They allow us to give, to serve, and to love, without burning ourselves out in the process. Creating space for yourself is not selfish. It is essential. It's how you maintain your strength, so you can fully show up for the people, the projects, and the purpose that truly matter to you. Ask yourself honestly, what boundaries do I need to honor myself right now? Is it limiting how much negativity you absorb each day? Stepping away from toxic relationships even when it's hard? Or simply learning to say no without guilt, without explanation? These boundaries, they are the sacred walls of your inner temple. They don't isolate you. They protect your joy, your focus, and your fire. And when you nurture those boundaries, you create room for what truly feeds your soul. The moments, the people, the practices that fill you with energy instead of draining it. You are the guardian of your own energy. Treat it like a flame. Tend to it gently. Shelter it from harsh winds, because it is your light in a world that often forgets to slow down. Now we enter the 9th principle. Surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. There is a quiet, graceful strength in surrender, a depth of wisdom that often goes unnoticed in a world obsessed with control, hustle, and endless striving. We're constantly told, fight harder, push through, make it happen. So naturally, surrender sounds like giving up. But that's not the truth. Surrender isn't giving up. It's giving in to the flow of life. Like water, it doesn't resist obstacles. It doesn't force its way through walls. It flows around them, gracefully, effortlessly, with purpose. And yet, it gets where it's meant to go, not by resisting the current, but by trusting it. That's surrender, and that's power. Buddhism reminds us, you cannot control everything. You cannot predict every outcome. You cannot stop every challenge from coming. But you can choose how you meet them. And in that choice lies your freedom. In the end, only 3 things truly matter: how deeply you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of what was never meant for you. Within those words lies the heart of surrender, not as defeat, but as an act of clarity, humility, and deep inner strength. When we surrender, we don't lose control. We simply stop wasting energy on what cannot be controlled. And in that release, we free ourselves from suffering. Think back. How many times in life have you resisted reality, held tightly to how things should be, only to end up exhausted, frustrated, or even heartbroken? The truth is, resistance often brings more pain than the situation itself. It's in the acceptance of what is, not in the battle to change it, that we finally discover peace. But let's be clear, acceptance is not passivity. It's not weakness or inaction. It's the bold choice to embrace the present moment, even when it's messy, even when it hurts, even when you'd rather escape it. And it's in that presence that your power returns. So ask yourself, am I resisting life or flowing with it? Because resistance is almost always rooted in fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of losing control, fear of not being enough without holding it all together. But the truth, life was never meant to be fully controlled. It is, by nature, unpredictable. And no amount of worrying, planning, or micromanaging can guarantee a specific outcome. But here's the beauty. When you stop struggling against what is, you start flowing with what comes. And that is where real peace begins. When we stop resisting life and begin to surrender, something profound happens. We don't lose control. We find peace. Now let's go deeper into what it truly means to live in harmony with our path. We stop fighting, we stop forcing, and for the first time in a long time, we start living in harmony with the unfolding of our journey. To surrender is not to give up. It is to release the illusion that we were ever in full control, and instead allow life to reveal itself in its own time, in its own way. It's about making peace with the unknown, with the detours, the delays, and the outcomes we can't predict, with the people who come and go, and the chapters that close before we're ready. In surrender, we free ourselves, not just from external pressure, but from the tight grip of fear, worry, and expectation. Instead of swimming endlessly upstream, straining to control what refuses to be held, we learn to float, to trust, to move with the current of life instead of against it. And in that trust, we don't become passive, we become powerful. Because the practice of surrender doesn't make us weak, it makes us wise. It gives us the courage to meet life exactly as it is, without fighting it, without needing it to be different, without fear clouding our every breath. And in doing so, we discover a new kind of strength, not the kind that comes from controlling outcomes, but the kind that comes from letting go of the need to. True power doesn't lie in control. It lies in surrender, in flow, and in trust. Now we arrive at the 10th principle: choose peace over being right. There's a quiet power in this choice, a radical strength in letting go of the need to win, to prove, to argue, to be heard at all costs. We live in a world that rewards certainty, that praises those who argue the loudest, who never back down, who equate being right with being strong. But what if that's not the real victory? What if the real triumph is choosing peace? Even when your ego is screaming for a fight. Imagine someone who's always in battle, constantly defending their truth, their identity, their ideas. It's like trying to fill a cracked bowl with water. No matter how much they pour in, it never holds. It leaks, it drains, and eventually all that's left is emptiness. In the fight to be right, we often lose sight of what matters most: our inner peace. Buddhist wisdom offers us a quiet reminder. Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. In the noise of modern life, we argue to be seen. We debate to feel valued. We cling to opinions as if they define our worth. But has that ever truly satisfied your heart? Most of the time, it leaves us feeling more disconnected, more tense, drained by conflict, distance from compassion. Arguments are like storms, loud, fast, and destructive. They stir everything up, but leave calm far behind. So ask yourself, do I want to be right, or do I want to be free? Because in every disagreement, there's a crossroads. You can choose to dig in, to defend, to escalate. Or you can choose to let go, to soften, to prioritize peace, both for yourself and the other person. This isn't about surrendering your values. It's not about staying silent when it matters. It's about discernment, about recognizing which battles cost more than they're worth, and asking, is defending my ego worth sacrificing my peace? Most of the time, it's not. Letting go of the need to be right is a form of inner liberation. You're not backing down. You're simply stepping out of the cycle of conflict, out of the noise of the ego, and into the calm where true connection lives. This choice, to choose peace, is quiet, but powerful, and it's yours to make again and again. Choosing peace over being right isn't about backing down. It's about rising above, protecting your energy, preserving your clarity, and creating space for something far more valuable than validation: connection. It's not just about avoiding conflict to keep things calm. It's about choosing peace, again and again, as a sacred priority. Because the temporary thrill of winning an argument can never compare to the lasting stillness of inner calm. In relationships, at work, in family conversations or everyday interactions, the goal isn't to win the battle. It's to build an atmosphere where mutual respect, listening, and honest understanding can truly flourish. The greatest victory isn't proving you're right. It's creating a space where everyone feels heard and respected. When you choose peace over pride, when you let go of the need to have the final word, you free yourself from the exhausting loop of tension, defensiveness, and anxiety. You don't need to prove your worth. You don't need to argue your value. Your truth simply is. It doesn't require applause or approval to stand strong. And in that freedom, you begin to breathe deeper. You begin to live lighter. Because the weight of conflict, even silent internal conflict, can be heavier than we realize. Ask yourself the next time you're pulled into a disagreement, Is this really worth my calm? More often than not, the answer will echo back, no. Letting go of the fight doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise. You're stepping away not from courage, but from chaos. True strength lies in choosing peace, in walking away from the arguments that deplete you and choosing instead the quiet confidence of inner freedom. You don't have to be right to be whole. You don't have to win to be powerful. Sometimes the most courageous act is simply to smile and let it go. Now, as a bonus principle, let's go even deeper. Live with intent, not impulse. Picture an archer standing in a quiet forest. Her stance is steady. Her breath is calm. She doesn't shoot at every noise or movement around her. She waits. She watches. And only when her target is clear, she releases her arrow with purpose. That is what it means to live with intention. But in our fast-paced world, that kind of stillness feels rare, doesn't it? We rush, we react, we get pulled into every notification, every emotion, every distraction that pops into our mind. We shoot arrows in every direction, hoping one hits something meaningful. But all we end up with is exhaustion and confusion. What would change if you paused more often? If you didn't react to every impulse, but instead responded with clarity? Buddhism teaches a timeless truth. What we are today comes from the thoughts of yesterday, and our present thoughts shape the life we will live tomorrow. In other words, your future doesn't begin later. It begins now, with what you choose to think, feel, and do in this moment. So the next time you're about to react, pause. Ask yourself, is this action aligned with the person I truly want to be? Because when we act on impulse, we often create chaos and then wonder why peace feels out of reach. But when we live with intention, we build a life rooted in clarity, wisdom, and calm. So try this. Start each morning with one simple question. What would the peaceful, intentional version of me choose today? Let that guide your choices. Let that direct your energy. And watch how differently the world begins to respond. Because living intentionally is not about doing more. It's about doing what truly matters, on purpose, with presence. When we begin to live with intention instead of impulse, something profound shifts. We no longer just move through life, we begin to shape it. Let's now dive deeper into how intentional living transforms our decisions and our destiny. Too often, we're swept up in the momentum of the world around us. We follow external pressures, react to whatever appears in front of us, and respond without thinking about the long-term impact. It's like being caught in a river's current, always moving, but never steering. But what if we paused and asked a different question? What would my highest self choose in this moment? That question alone shifts the energy. Suddenly, you're no longer reacting blindly to the world. You're listening. You're aligning. Living with intent means slowing down, even when everything tells you to hurry up. It means creating space between what happens and how you respond. It means choosing your direction, not being pushed by noise. It's not about overthinking every step. It's about honoring the space between stimulus and reaction, about breathing before you act and reflecting before you decide. Because how many times have we acted from stress or fear, only to look back later and think, I wish I had paused. I wish I had listened to myself. By slowing down and checking in with your core values, you give yourself the grace to choose actions that feel true, that reflect who you really are, not just how you felt in the moment. So ask yourself, gently but clearly, am I choosing from wisdom or reaction? When we act from reaction, we're often led by emotion, by habit, by old conditioning, or the weight of others' expectations. But when we act from wisdom, we're grounded. We take a moment to breathe, to center ourselves, and to respond in a way that aligns with peace, with integrity, with purpose. Living with intention doesn't mean controlling every second. It means moving through life with awareness, even when the path is uncertain. It's choosing to respond mindfully, even when things are messy. It's trusting that each step, however small, is building the life you want to live. So the next time you feel that tug of impulse, ask yourself, what would happen if I just slowed down? In that stillness, you'll find clarity. And from that clarity, the right decision will come. Not rushed, not forced, just true. Because the power to shape your future isn't hidden in some distant dream. It lives in the quiet choices you make today. Choose them wisely. Choose them with intention. When you live with intent, you're not just surviving life, you're creating it, one mindful step at a time. Now, before we close this journey, let's gently revisit the core principles that have guided us through this video, the reminders that carry deep, lasting wisdom. 1. Let go or be dragged. Freedom begins not in clinging, but in releasing. Let go of what you cannot control, stress, anger, expectations, and you'll find space to breathe again. Peace is not found in control, but in surrender. 2. Observe without absorbing. You are not required to take on the energy of the world around you. Witness your thoughts and emotions without becoming them. That's how inner stillness is created. Mindful observation is your shield against emotional burnout. 3. Care deeply, but not widely. You don't have to care about everything. You just have to care about what truly matters. Your values, your well-being, your peace. Selective caring isn't coldness, it's clarity. 4. The freedom of non-attachment. Detachment isn't indifference. It's refusing to let anything, people, outcomes, or possessions own your peace. Release your grip, move lightly, and joy will follow. 5. Respond, don't react. There is a sacred pause between what happens and how you respond. In that space lies your power. When you choose intention over impulse, you choose peace over regret. And that is mastery. In our final reflection, we'll bring all of these teachings together and remind ourselves of the quiet, enduring power of a life lived mindfully. You now understand. Life doesn't need to be controlled to be beautiful. When you live with intention, clarity, and peace, you begin to lead your life, not be led by it. And that's where the deepest transformation begins. You are not your thoughts. They will rise, spin, shout, and eventually fade, but they are not you. By recognizing this, you create something powerful. Space. A gentle, quiet distance between who you are and what your mind happens to say. In that space, calm settles in. Clarity appears. You stop reacting and begin responding with intention. This is the foundation of a peaceful mind. Simplicity is your superpower. In a world that glorifies more noise, more speed, more consumption, it takes courage to choose less. But here's the truth. Complexity creates chaos. Simplicity brings serenity. Strip away the mental and emotional clutter. Let go of what no longer serves. Because the fewer distractions you carry, the more room there is for stillness, depth, and joy. Protect your energy like a sacred temple. Not everything deserves access to your mind, your time, or your emotional space. Set boundaries, lovingly but firmly. Not to block people out, but to preserve the peace within. Your attention is your power. Spend it wisely, not on what drains you, but on what uplifts, heals, and fuels your soul. Surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. To surrender doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're giving in to the flow of life, to the present moment, to peace. What you surrender no longer controls you. And in that release, you become stronger, not weaker. Acceptance isn't passivity. It's the beginning of transformation. Choose peace over being right. In the grander story of your life, peace will serve you longer than pride. Not every argument deserves your presence. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Ego fuels conflict. Compassion builds freedom. Let go of the need to win, and you win something far greater: inner freedom. Live with intent, not impulse. Let the world swirl around you if it must. But you move with clarity. You move with mindfulness. When you act with intention, you stop scattering your energy. You begin to direct it. You begin to create your life rather than react to it. Embrace the power of emptiness. Stillness is not a void. It is a fertile, sacred space, a field where wisdom, clarity, and creativity can grow. In a world that constantly shouts for your attention, stillness becomes rebellion, and that rebellion becomes your peace. Not caring about what doesn't matter isn't detachment. It's a deeper connection with what does. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to please everyone. You don't need to hold the world together with your bare hands. You just need to stop letting it break your mind, because life will never be fully under your control. But your response to life always will be. When you stop reacting to every thought, every trigger, every storm outside of you, you awaken a stillness inside you that cannot be shaken. That stillness becomes your anchor. And from there, something shifts. You stop dancing for approval and start walking in peace. True mastery isn't loud. It doesn't need to prove. It quietly says, "This doesn't deserve my energy." That's where freedom lives. That's how power is reclaimed. You stop being pulled by the chaos of the world, and you begin to lead your own life deliberately, peacefully. As Zen philosophy reminds us, freedom isn't found in grasping. It's found in letting go. You don't have to fight your way through life. You can choose to flow. The moment you stop caring about what doesn't matter, you start deeply caring about what does. And in that shift, you become unshakable. Let go of who you think you should be and become who you already are. Take back your life, not through force, but through focus. Not by doing more, but by doing what truly matters. If this message touched something within you, give it a like, share it with someone who may need it today, and subscribe to Buddhism Seeds for more timeless wisdom on how to live a peaceful, grounded, and intentional life. Let's rise together. Let's live lighter. Let's come home to ourselves.